Okay, here's some prehistoric news coming up out of England from the last ice age. They found a series of deer head or antler bone masks that were used by ancient shamans or perhaps hunters that date to 11,000 years ago. It's pretty neat. I think this probably correlates to the one that they said 2 years ago when they probably found the first one. Said they thought it was wood. You can kind of see here with the knots and things that go with it how they may have connotated the idea or concept of it being wood and then clean it up from there, and have found a bunch of others, so I believe it's the same one. It harkens to the god Cernunnos and the stag god, and the idea of in Bambi of having that stag of the forest, the king of the forest concept of idea with Cernunnos. And we see it reflected here with these people that used to wear it long, long ago. And I believe a lot of it was in hunting rituals and shamanistic type of things where they would have rituals to do these things for these sacred hunts. And it doesn't say in this article, disappointingly for me, if this is an elder eichhorn or if this is the common type of deer that they have around there. Now, people used to, in hunting, they would actually put on a fake deer head like this, and from ones that they had caught from before, and their skins, including the tail hanging off of their butt, and you would walk around stooped over through high grasses along with deers and try to slowly get in with them and infiltrate, and then one would be picked out, and then everybody on a signal would try to shoot that one deer, and everybody pay attention, and then you have to track that deer down because it's wounded. Quite often it will not just fall right there. There's no high-powered rifle going on. Even when we shoot them with high-powered rifles, quite often they run off quite some distance. So, uh, kind of neat that you find these here. Let's look into the story here. 11,000-year-old spiritualized deer masks whisper tales of a forgotten world. Deer skulls with carved eye holes dating to 11,000 years ago have been discovered at Star Carr Mesolithic archaeological site about 5 miles south of Scarborough in North Yorkshire, England area. It's up in the moors, up in that area there where they have the swamps and bogs. And that does preserve things quite well. They found quite a bit in bogs and things, and maybe we ought to spend a little more time in it finding other things and so on. But let's continue. Often referred to as the most important Mesolithic site in Great Britain, Star Carr was occupied during the early Mesolithic archaeological period, and the site was preserved because Lake Flixton, where the skulls were discovered, was filled in with peat, which fortunately prevented the organic materials from oxidizing and rotting away. 3 of the 33 deer skull pieces, as well as tools, weapons, and jewelry, are currently on display at the Cashe Gallery at the Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology in Downing Street in Cambridge. The exhibition is called A Survival Story, Prehistoric Life at Star Carr, and the exhibition curator, Dr. Jody Joy, told reporters at Haaretz this was a time before farming, before pottery was even made, and definitely before metalworking. But the people who made their homes there returned to the same place for hundreds and hundreds of years. So almost a migratory spot that was extremely common. I don't know if you ever watched kid shows and things, but like Brother Bear and how they had the migratory routes going back and forth. And during the last ice age, many people had that type of life going on, and it was really following the massive deer herds, for they were your source of life. If you didn't go after them, you didn't have anything. Here's another one of these, and it seems a little odd. The horns seem to be almost carried forward a little bit, almost like a ram type of set. And you can see definitely the holes that are buried into them. It's kind of neat. I think it's real neat, actually. 11,000 years ago, ambient temperatures were rising and the ice age retreated, causing ocean levels to rise. And we talk about this and the cometary impact and things that had happened, younger dryas events, and so on. And this comes out of that, and this is also hearkening on a similar time, if you will, to Göbekli Tepe. So you might see some of the things that were around this whole area and surrounding it during this time. Archaeologists have unearthed profound amounts of hunting tools and weapons, including 227 antler points used to hunt and fish with, which is thought to be way in excess to what a small community would require. If they compare it to other sites, it's like, whoa, man, there's a lot of this going. So, further supporting the idea that Star Carr was not just a transit cap for nomadic hunter-gatherer fishers, archaeologists involved in the Star Carr archaeological project found evidence of Mesolithic wooden walkways and jetties into the lake, which are the earliest known examples of carpentry in Europe. And it's like a split, the way I was described it, and the other thing was split boards and it put together in an early fence post type concept that we see a lot of times at just water parks and parks that people go to, and they'll, Six Flags and all that, Gilligan's Island type looking things that they had there, but also that would have been working with wood in a carpentry form. So extremely neat. Mesolithic hunting rituals, though, archaeologists have a tendency to associate non-utile pre-agriculture artifacts to religions. But the Cambridge archaeologist involved at Star Carr raised the postulation that the deer headdresses may have been items of camouflage worn while hunting. While the visual of 30-plus hunters creeping through a woodland dressed as deer sets one's imagine on fire, Dr. Joy told reporters that part of the antlers were removed. One suspects the deers wouldn't have been fooled if they had these type of things going on. So to better understand why ancient people made such elaborate sacred objects, we must adopt a different worldview and consider animism. Imagine for a moment a reality in which every material object and phenomena has an unseen life force. And I think if we think of terms on just the American Indians, if you will, you'll see the same type of concept going on somewhat, where the material and spiritual realms are simply different parts of one thing, and in that world, free of pre-scientific reasoning, our forebears projected concepts of soul, spirit, and sentience into fern and fauna, or flora and fauna, and light and shadows, thunder, wind, rain, sunshine. So this is the developing of the first of the gods that controlled the powers over the world. Now, here's an ancient depiction of this shaman type of guy here. And the weird thing always to me was about this is they go, well, it's just a man in a headdress, he's a shaman. If you look at his feet, I don't know why they drew him like that, but he almost has lizard feet. Just weird. And also, these dogs are just tiny as hell. I've had people say, oh, this is giants and stuff. And it's like, no, it's a bad view of perspective. Okay. It's a 17th century drawing of a Tungus shaman wearing antlers. So to enhance hunting and fishing success, pre- and post-hunting rituals aimed at focusing and unifying the appropriate natural elements must have been developed way back in prehistory. So when they were going to go to the hunt, there would be this thing, everybody get together, this is a meeting, a concept, what they may do, ideas. They may even work out things, as I've said before in some of my cave art scenes, that they show these, and the people are now talking to each other and pointing at these and telling you what they're going to do, and we're going to go around over here, and you stay over here. When we scare them, you shoot at, that type of thing. So they'll probably set up things along this line, but then there's got to be a ritual that goes along with it. Hunting rituals. We still have these today. I think your rednecks can tell you all about it. So these enhancing fishing techniques and rituals aimed at focusing and unifying the appropriate natural elements must have been developed way back in prehistory, probably when we first developed superstitious thinking. Rituals are, after all, the amplified and systemized big sisters of doing things like touching wood and not walking under the ladders, and don't let a black cat cross your path and things, and I spoke of that here earlier. Usually I get into these type of subjects here around Halloween, but it's permeated just about everything. So To gain insights into the original beliefs which led to the creation of spiritual tools like ancient masks, and to achieve a deeper understanding of ancient hunting rituals, archaeologists and anthropologists often study the rituals of modern day hunter gatherers. According to a 2015 research paper published by NCBI, Mayan peasant hunters across the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, particularly the Zipical community, still carry out a hunting ritual called Lujsun or carbine ceremony. Carbine's a type of rifle. Wonder where they get that nickname from. Anyhow, these Mexican hunters believe they are granted access to game by the gods and the lords of the animals, and they perceive that their rituals renew the divine permission for hunting in order to continue preserving the gift of prey after a period of hunt. According to Rufino Shuk, a hunter from Pichil, performing the Lujsun ritual legitimizes killing an animal, for a structure has been created for the social, moral, and emotional impact of the kill, ensuring the hunter is acting correctly before, during, and after the hunt. And we can see something like this reflected in, oh God, what's the name of the movie where the people are all blue and the guy gets in the ship and talking to the other people, and stuff. And they stole the name from the last Airbender type dude. Anyhow, you can see in there whenever they kill an animal and then they talk to it as it's dying and they take its last breath and things and stuff. And this is believed that a lot of people still do this type of thing to this day, but it was carried on massively by pretty much all people before religion gave us a total different idea that we were animalistic when we were somewhat more animals. And as we come out of that, we've become a lot more of a sanctified people, something selected by God to apparently be over all of these other creatures, as it says. So there's also a strange connection here when you have shamanistic beliefs and ancient, ideas of elves and woodland creatures and all this type of thing that goes in. And we still look back at elves as being these sacred forest dwelling creatures. And in some way, some people that used to be in the past, they lived long lives in a land of gold and plenty during an ancient time that no one can remember anymore. And this is another look at that mist, I think, and fog that we all seem to be in, and trying to get up out of, to understand where everything had come from and how it all worked together. We've been kind of dogmatically presented one idea and almost shunted from most of the others. Never allowed to make the connections that you're supposed to be able to put it all together, but I'm trying. Here's a ceremonial deposit where most of the acts of the Lujsun ritual recur, and so they come and do rituals like this. To this day, you'll have things where you see a Mother Mary type thing in here in the background and stuff, and they'll light a candle, do these effigies, burn incense, and all this type of thing, which a lot of it is that Catholic and Christians type of thing. But then there's also this idea that they'll spit alcohol into the wind and do these sacrifices to them, and you can tell that's definitely an older thing. But then there's this shamanistic idea thing that they have. Pardon me, I'm sorry. Shamanistic thing that they have, where they do a ritual that's definitely something for the animals. And in looking at those three aspects, we can actually see still a hearkening towards something from elder times. It can be concluded that hunting rituals are rooted in the profound belief that humans cannot live without making and maintaining associations between the natural and supernatural elements of nature and our destiny. Today, all is bagged up in a concept, animism, but this is often shunned away of looking at the world as though the natural software humans were born with. It's lasted hundreds of thousands of years before being crushed by the rise of organized religions. And animism carries very, very much into everything that we study and look at here, from the point of the idea of Gilgamesh and Enkidu being a wild man, to the idea that you see in Egyptian art, where you see animalistic concepts put onto human beings. Like whenever you see kung fu and there are styles derived from tiger and mantis and crane, right? And all of this animism is just us pulling knowledge from all the animals and plants and trees from around us and building it up over time into what we have now as a mass conglomerate of knowledge. And this is but a small snapshot of one of those moments. And we'll go back to one of these shaman headdress concepts here. And you can see that in a time of great hunt, and the talking of the great deer, and things that would go on that we would relate now to being something you would hear at an Indian ritual, was something that had its own counterpart way back at the last ice age with the Proto Europeans and the endemics that lived here that blended with the later Proto Europeans coming back through and formed what we have today in Great Britain. Like, share, and subscribe, guys, and enjoy. And we'll get on to another interesting topic. I just thought I'd throw this in after having seen the one from that they thought was wood from a couple of years ago. Apparently that site's been opened up to the point we see all of this now. I think it may be the same exact site. It must be Peat Bog, blah, blah, blah. Sounds great. Peace.